Welcome to Catalyze, the Connected Leaders Academy virtual conference designed to reshape your vision of transformation. As we navigate the evolving business landscape, our speakers will unveil innovative strategies to manage and initiate change. Prepare to adapt, innovate, and lead, ensuring your role as a catalyst in this transformative era.
So, when my mom found out she was pregnant, my parents were not like, "Oh, yay, yippee yay. We're so excited. We're going to have we're bringing a new life into this world and we're going to have a baby. Yay." No. My father sent her to the clinic to get an abortion. That's how my life started. And then it just progressively continued in that direction. So my parents weren't married when my mom got pregnant, but they had been together for quite some time. And so my dad had just come back from the army. He didn't have a job, didn't have money. He was feeling insecure about himself. So he sent her to the clinic to get an abortion. My mom went because that's what they did back then. She went inside. She couldn't do it. Turned around and came back home and said, "That's it. I'm having this baby." I think it was like the only time she ever put her foot down about anything. And he was not happy about this, but he did marry her. They lived with his parents. So it wasn't really great. He wasn't prepared. He wasn't happy about it, but it is what it is. And then I came. And then he was even less happy because I was a girl, not a boy. And he never let me forget it. From there on in, it went into one thing after another. I was born in Europe, specifically in Eastern Europe and Croatia. This was a common thing that happened there. My dad was super abusive. He was super abusive with my mom, even before they got married. He was extra abusive with me because I wasn't a boy. He wanted a son, not a girl, because sons are so much easier and girls are just too much trouble, and he didn't understand girls. And so that's it. He just would like freak out. His anger was off the charts all the time. When I was 6 years old, we had to leave all the family, all my grandparents, all my comfort zones, and they brought me to Canada. And it was just them and myself and my mom's brother. That's it. I had one uncle. That was the only family we had. Didn't speak English, went to school. You know, kids are mean. When you don't speak English, kids are mean. They would put water. There was a boy that would put water into my boots. I mean, it was just like one crazy thing after another. My dad was super insecure, super angry, super everything. And he grew to be even more abusive. And this went on for a few years. And this is the way my life went. This is how it started. This is how it went. So the abuse kind of stayed with me. And I did find a bit of a sweet spot when I went and I got a part-time job, and I went to work at 15. And it was a shoe store. And after about 3 weeks into it, my assistant manager, who was just lovely, pulls me aside and she says, "Oh my goodness." She goes, "Like, you're so quiet with people. You're going to have to do something about this. Like, we really need you to sort of speak up and come out of your shell. And you can't sell like this. Like, you're never going to be able to sell like this." And I was like, oh my gosh. It was like someone opened the floodgate for me. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. I then went and I became my real self. I came out of whatever quiet shell was put onto me, and off I went. A month later, I was the #1 salesperson in that store. And this is the way my life went. So at age 17, I was working at a really, really cool store. It was one of the high-end, super cool, newest fashion ever. So of course I always had great hair, great makeup, and great clothes, because as everyone who's ever done retail knows, you will always always have to wear the clothes that you're selling, right? So at 17, I was intrigued. So by then, sorry, let me start again. So by the time I was 17, my dad was already diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenic. And so he was on some pretty heavy duty medication. And if he ran out of medication, you better watch out. This was out of control, anger, rage. I mean, this man has taken broomsticks and hit me over the knee. He brought a knife to my neck, held it at my neck in the middle of the night. I don't know what possessed him. My mother had to rip him off of me one time when he was literally choking me in my bedroom. I don't know what I said to him, but I certainly wasn't quiet and I didn't hold back much. And so he just went for my neck. I literally could not breathe. Like if she didn't take him off of me, I probably that wouldn't have ended quite as well. So she did manage to get him off of me. I had to literally run out of the house. Long story short, I didn't come back for a whole month. I wasn't even going to come back. The only reason I came back is because my mother begged me to. And, you know, no amount of abuse was ever enough for her, but she wasn't going to leave him. She was in love with him, and that's great. And he's my father and I love him. But this was really hard for me to take. So anyways, that was the beginning of my whole life. This is what kind of followed me. So when I was 17, I went to the guidance counselor because I was intrigued by psychology. I was 15 years old and I was reading a book called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Not to mention, I was intrigued by it because of my father too. So I always wanted to figure out, geez, how could I help him, or how could I understand this better? Because I don't understand what's going on. They didn't understand what was going on. All I knew was he ran out of meds and nobody had time to go to the pharmacy, and that was a nightmare. So we couldn't let him run out of meds. Like somebody had to go get some, and it couldn't be me because I was too young, and my mom sometimes could and sometimes couldn't. And, you know, they worked hard and they were immigrants into the country. It was hard, right? Everything was different. So I went to the guidance counselor and I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing either psychology at university or psychiatry. And I can't really understand the difference because I kind of like both. And he said, oh, well, you know, psychology and psychiatry, they're so similar. And psychiatry is basically you're able to write prescriptions for people, and you know, you can write medications for them. And I said, yeah, I don't really want to do that. I just want to do the psychology. I think maybe that would be a better course for me. And he's kind of looking at me, and I said, well, the other course is that I'm working at this really great job and it's part-time, and they've offered me a full-time position, and I can work at, because the hours were all over the place, it's retail, you could work all kinds of crazy hours. And they were just starting to open up Sundays. Yes, there was a time when stores were not open on Sundays. And I was interested in taking retail business management, was the name of the course, and it was in a college. And I said to him, I said, or I could take that because I really do like business and I really do like the retail. And he goes, oh, he goes, you are far too pretty for university. That is way too much work for you. Just go to college and continue with that and get your job and stay doing that. That's perfect for you. And I said, oh, okay. Because he was a male authority figure, I thought, oh, okay, he must be right. And so this led from one crazy relationship to another, to another, to another. I then, you know, married a man who was really wonderful to start with and turned into a total alcoholic. You know, we all used to party when we were younger. He just didn't stop. And so therefore that then led to a divorce. And in the same year, my mother passed away. I got divorced. I had to close down a business that I loved. And then to top all of that off with everything, I had to file for bankruptcy because every single thing was in my name, because I wanted to make up for everything he wasn't doing. When he wasn't working, and that was a lot, I had to make up for everything. He didn't even know he was like a child. He didn't even know what our bills were like. When I left him and he called, and I left him the condo because we were living in a condo, and left him with the bills. And he said, "Oh my God, I had no idea our mortgage was so high. Like, there's a lot of bills here." And I go, "Yep, that's what happened." And I had nothing. I remember there was a day where I only had, actually, it wasn't a day, sorry, it was a week. I had $8 to my name. And I was like, wow, do I get gas? Do I get food? What do I get? And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. How do I deal with this? And so that and everything before that is the reason I got consumed with self-love. And I was just like, everything I was reading, all the courses and everything I was doing, I'm like, you know what? I need to get this in order. This is insane. I'm not living this life. I need a change. I need a shift, and I need it now. And I started, it was like when I left my husband, I had my own business. I had a spa I was running, and I signed up for this really cool Kundalini yoga teachers training course. Because when you take Kundalini yoga or anything, when you take anything, it's great. But when you take the teachers training version of it, it's awesome. It's amazing because you get all the extras. And this was the beginning of everything. It was like, oh my gosh, and I felt bad because we didn't have kids, and I thought something was wrong with me, and this, that, and the other. And it was just like one crazy thing after another. And then I started going to one class, and then I went to Switzerland to a class at first. So I combined my learning, which I love doing, and my traveling together. So I went to all these different classes. I spent so much money on that. It was amazing. I loved it. But it was okay because I worked really hard. I worked 12-hour days all the time, sometimes 16-hour days. I still do it. I'm 62 years old, and I work 18-hour days a lot, more than I should, that's for sure. But I work a lot of 12-hour days, and I work a lot of 16-hour days. But I love my life so much. I am so happy. I spent literally a lifetime building myself up and my self-worth. And now, with a really strong foundation of self-worth and self-love, to me, they're very similar. I know a lot of people say they're not, but they are. They're very, very similar. And the more I love myself, the better I do. So sometimes do less and allow more love for yourself, because I am so happy now. I remember the day I went in to sign the paperwork. This was before everything was automated and online. I went in, there was this much papers to do. I was literally at the trustee's office for 2.5 hours. And the guy gave me a box of Kleenex, and he goes, "Here," because I started crying the second I picked up the pen, and tears started rolling down my face. Like, it was just, I used up an entire box of Kleenex. I came outside, and I think it was June when we did it. I went outside, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and I'm like, okay, that's done. That's behind me now. It's over. From here on in, I'm going to make sure this never happens again, and I'm going to get to it. And I started working on myself. Oh my gosh. I started working on myself so much that it was like, and no one could understand. They're like, "What are you doing? Like, you have to work on your business. You have to work on, I don't know, calling people up. You have to do this, do." And I'm like, no, I have to work on myself, and everything else will fall into place. And it was so much fun. And you know what? Sometimes you have to go along with the messages that you hear from God. And I kept getting pushed into these weird places. Like, I shut down my spa and went to go work at a bank. I'm like, that's interesting, because I just filed for bankruptcy. And a lot of times you have to well, first of all, I had to fill out all kinds of paperwork to work at a bank, of course. And there's like at that time, there was like a 6-week period. You couldn't actually start working there for like 6 weeks. And they're like, "You filed for bankruptcy? Like, we can't how are we get, but I had met the manager at a networking event, and her and I hit it off really, really well. We were doing some business stuff. We're doing business for women, and I do a lot of coaching for women. And she's like, I love what you do. She goes, can you come over and work, even if it's just part-time at the bank? She goes, I really need some great salespeople, because I was really good with people. And I love working with people. It's one of my favorite things. And I said, okay. So I went from part-time to full-time. So I was at the bank for 3 years at a branch, in like working as basically what you would know as a CSR or else a teller, um, for my older friends. And it was so much fun. It was one of the best jobs I've ever had. I hadn't had this much fun in such a long time, but the pay is pretty low, but it is regular. So there's something a little different when you're an entrepreneur. And I continued to do work on myself, and I continued to go, Tony Robbins, I know them all. I know everyone. I've been to all of their courses. And I just kept going and going and going. And, I went from there, I went to downtown to telephone banking, which is definitely not a thing for me, but I wanted to get the lending sort of certification in the bank. And the fastest way to do it was to go to telephone banking. So I went there. I did that. I did what I had to do. And then I left there. I went to another bank to work as a mortgage agent, went from there to a brokerage to be a mortgage agent. And from there, I became a real estate agent. And just so you all know, I was 50 years old when I got my real estate license. It is never, never, ever, ever, ever too late. If you want to do it, go do it. Who cares how old you are? So I did that. And then a friend of mine hooked up with me, and her and I went to college together. We took the business retail management together. And she had a recruiting agency. So I did recruiting. Here, I matched up people to houses, and over here, I matched up people to jobs, which I used to do all the time by nature anyways. And that was so much fun. It was an exceptional office. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. It was a lot of fun. There was some drama that went on, of course, like every other place, but I stayed there for 8 years. I stayed all the way until COVID. And COVID came, and I could feel a shift was necessary, because I feel like when I grow, I grow, I grow. And now I feel like I've grown this. I've outgrown this. So I went back to real estate, and I got a coach. I took a coaching course on media and social media and marketing. And then I stayed with the one coach, and the other coach, I'm still in contact with her as well. And it was amazing. So he's still my coach. And I went from one thing into another. I did things that I never thought in my whole life I would ever do, because I worked on my self-worth and my self-love so much that I made it. I was totally in a good place, like in a really great place, actually. But every once in a while, you're human, things show up, and so back to that office, there was some drama there. And part of the drama was that the owner always used to tell me, oh my gosh, you're a terrible writer. Like your emails are awful. Which is kind of funny, because I'm now taking a course in bank code, which, my emails were super short, because that's how I communicate. I don't think I need to tell you the whole story, because I don't want to hear the whole story. I'm good with just a short version. So I didn't know that I could appeal to other people. But anyway, so she used to tell me I was a terrible writer. Well, ha ha ha. Because after I left there, I opened up a publishing company. So I am now the CEO of Empowered Voice Publishing. I'm still a coach, so Empowered Source Coaching. And now I have a virtual speaker platform called Empowered Talks. And that is my virtual speaker platform. It's my baby right now. And I absolutely love everything I do. I have a podcast called Meditation Millionaire. I'm putting on a second one called Real Estate Ins and Outs. I teach classes. I have been doing retreats. I've probably worked with over 50 retreats in my lifetime. And I love going on retreats too. And I'm now looking at various automating some, so automating anything is kind of difficult for me because I'm not so techie, but I like challenging myself. So I will put myself into a place where I will challenge myself and I will get it done. It will be absolutely amazing. So I'm also, sit down for this one, 23. I am a 23-time award-winning international best-selling author. So all of that happened in the last, I'm going to say 4 years, maybe 4.5. So I'm now 62 years old. And I'm absolutely amazing. Like, I love everything I do. My life is amazing. I'm seeing a wonderful man. I have great friends. I love every single thing I do. Yep. I still work the crazy hours because I like what I do. What can I say? It's not even work to me, you know? But I'm just going to share briefly with you some of the things that I have done. And I just want to say this, I actually am a millionaire. I do own a number of properties. I'm not going to talk about how much, but I have done quite well because I did promise myself that at 50, I would start focusing a little on my future. Up until 50, I played around a lot. I had a lot of fun. And I still continue every single day to work on myself. I am a ferocious meditator. Meditation is my thing. I love meditating. I love teaching it. I love talking about it. I love, if you want to meditate, come meditate with me. I love breath work. I think you all need to meditate. I think you need a coach. Journaling, retreat. I can't talk enough about journaling. I just have to tell you, I have a gratitude journal. I have a celebration journal, which I think we all should have. I have an I love myself journal, and I have a what's happening kind of journal. And some days I write a little, some days I write a lot. I try to go down into nature. That's my thing. I love my dog. I love spending time with my dog. I go to seminars, conferences, conventions. I have set some serious boundaries in my life. You can't, I've had to lose some people in my life that weren't supportive, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with setting extreme boundaries for yourself. You have to, it is a must. And taking time for yourself, for your health, is super important. You need to move, you need to eat well, you need to drink a lot of water, and you probably need to take some supplements because our soils are not what they used to be. And you can never, ever give up, ever. Do not, just keep going. Even when you think, oh, this is not leading anywhere. I'm like, why am I doing this? Nothing's happening. Just keep going and don't stop. It's imperative. And you know what? Practice being happy. It's free. And being happy is an inside job. And when you wake up and you don't feel good, go into gratitude. Just like I go to bed and wake up every morning, and in my head, I list 5 people that I'm super grateful for on both ends. And when you feel like you can't anymore, and you think it's like, oh, I don't know what else to do. Focus on yourself. You just practice some self-love and let go and let God. I'm using God. You use whatever works for you. That's it. Those are my recommendations on that, if you will, please. Thank you for letting me speak to you, and everyone take a deep breath in with me. Close your eyes. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And one big inhale. Love and light to you all, and thank you.
Thank you for participating in today's enlightening session of Catalyze. As we transition to our next expert, remember that each strategy and insight is a step toward becoming a transformative leader in your field. Visit connectedleadersacademy.com to stay engaged and informed. The journey of change is ongoing. Let's move forward together.